Put in your seatbelt, Father.
As always.
So, Father, I have a great idea. No, we're not. No, forget that.
I just want to get out. I'm kind of cooped up.
Yeah, what?
This has been...
Why are we driving? Where are we going?
I'm parking so we could get out
Oh.
and get some fresh air.
Oh.
This is necessary
Oh.
for my sanity and your sanity.
That's right. We've been cooped up for a while and just have to be doing something, getting out somewhere, right?
Ready for this?
What are we going to talk about?
Let's talk about you.
Yeah?
Yeah.
About me? Really?
I'll talk about me too, but
I can talk about you.
who are you?
I am me.
That's
I am me.
That's a story you're going to find out.
That was a very tough hike there we did to get up to this place.
Good thing
they
had chairs and a patio here.
What
Welcome
patio?
back.
We just have chairs. And,
Welcome back. We're going to talk about...
and Father brought these mugs. How is that? How did you bring the mugs up?
I always think about everything. You know that.
Classic mugs.
Anything for you. So we're going to talk about Deacon Jaime,
And Father Jeremy.
our vocation stories.
Vocation stories.
St. Matthias,
Yes.
one of the weird apostles, not weird,
Not weird.
apostles that we don't know much about.
He was a late comer.
and
Late bloomer.
late bloomer, but he was always there with Jesus
Yes,
from the
he was.
beginning. It's not I that chose you.
It was you.
Jesus, it wasn't I that chose you. But
It
from the
wasn't
gospel
you.
according to Jeremy.
It wasn't you who chose me, but I who chose you.
There you go. So what does that mean? We'll talk about it.
Ha!
Where are you from?
So I'm from the Philippines. A lot of you knew that already, or know that.
So you are in New Orleans now,
Yes.
on the cusp of being ordained a legionary priest.
A little bit more.
So how did you get from the Philippines to discover the Legion,
Mhm.
first chapter,
Mhm.
and how'd you get here?
Wow, long story. Short. Gotcha there. Long
Oh.
story short.
Go ahead.
Cheers. Right. So, back in 2004, my older brother, who is a legionary priest,
His name?
shout out Luis. Or Louis.
Father Luis.
Father Luis.
Good
Father
old-
Lou. Father Luigi. Father Luigi. There's a
All
lot
right,
of
don't make
ways
him
to-
mad. He's gonna
Yeah. So,
check this.
he finished high school in the Philippines and came over to start college in the States, right?
Yep.
And he was already discerning the priesthood, and he was looking for a group that kind of jived with his charism and with our upbringing as a family,
Catholic family.
Catholic family, and we really
How many brothers and sisters?
we're four. So it's older sister, brother, him, me, and a little brother,
Okay.
right? And
That tells a lot about somebody. But
I
we're
know. The third child. So he discovered the Legion, just going through different groups, and he
here in the States.
yeah, he read a book about the legionaries. He's like, hey, these guys kind of do what I want to do. So this is in June, first week of June.
And you were how old?
I was 16. He was 17.
Just starting to drive.
I was 16 going on 17.
so
Anyway, yes, and he was 17 going on 18. Or he was
So-
already 18.
so you heard through your brother about the Legion.
Yes.
He joined,
He joined.
and you were in what kind of state at the time?
I was okay. I wasn't that bad, but I was okay.
All right. Keep it for the kids.
Yes.
Nice and slow. Okay.
So I was okay. I was a junior in high school. So he joined, and I was like, yes, he's gone. And finished senior year, which was pretty fun. Not, grades, that's a whole different story, but pretty fun.
A private school.
Private
public
school.
Okay.
Private
Is
school.
that how it works in the Philippines?
Yeah, a lot of us go to a lot of Catholic schools are private schools, or most are. So finished high school, and then, as is kind of tradition in our families, that we come over to the States to study. My parents did the same thing, and I did the same thing. My sister did the same thing, or I'm doing the same thing. So I come over, studied at Catholic University of America,
DC.
DC. Father's from DC.
I'm not from there.
Sorry, he worked there.
I worked there for 3 years.
He survived. He made
I
it through.
Thrived.
He thrived. So go through my freshman year of college, and kind of rough. You had a lot of freedoms, a lot of fun.
Was college what you expected it to be?
It was. I wasn't what I expected myself to be. Make
So
sense?
identity,
Yeah,
struggles
trying to
with-
figure out like who I was and what I was doing for God. I was trying to figure out like what's the meaning of all this.
sound familiar?
I had great grades,
Oh, so
I had
you're
great friends.
School wise, you're doing
Yeah.
well,
everything.
but you're in a different country,
I was
new group of
I
friends.
was Dean's List. I don't know. That's like
Is that
3.5.
like the
3.5 and above.
the rebels that always get in trouble and
No,
detention?
those who don't have any social life and study.
Gotcha.
But I didn't
So
do that.
from your brother being in novitiate, you were in college, first year, excited about being away from the Philippines, halfway around the world, by yourself for the first time.
Yeah.
And what did your brother have to say about that? Like what?
Nothing.
You were close to him, right? You're only
Yes, but
he was in Connecticut, Cheshire, Connecticut. You were in DC, so 5 hours away.
He didn't know anything.
Okay.
Um,
Did he come to visit you at all? Or-
He,
no, he's a novice.
He was a novice. He couldn't visit.
So
So-
first years of religious life, novitiate.
Yep.
Kind of like a monk.
Kind of like a month. So what happened was, halfway through freshman year, this is December. All these questions in my mind, and I was battling a lot of just moral issues and doubts.
Typical college kid.
Yeah, typical. And I go to confession to one of
Just
the
pause.
priests.
Look at this beauty. Okay, good.
Squirrel.
I love this.
This is actually a Zoom background.
Okay, so
All right.
how did you first come in contact, or when did you start first feeling that call? Like, I'm not satisfied in college.
It was that December, because I go to confession to a priest. I would go to confession almost once a week or almost twice a week.
Were your parents instrumental in instilling that in you?
Yeah, we
like
grew up-
the importance of the sacrament.
Me and my siblings, we always grew up very close to the sacraments, but very close. But then we were open to the world. I got very excited, discovered a lot of things.
Close but no cigar.
Yes. So the priest in confession one day, about 2 weeks before Christmas, goes, "What are you doing? What are you doing with the Lord?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes,
I
feel like you're being two-faced, double-faced. You're telling him one thing, acting one way, but you're not really being."
Boom, roasted.
So I felt insincere. I felt like I wasn't being authentic. So guess what happens?
Is that supposed to be a cheers?
I call up my brother
Good job.
and I say, "Hey, can I come over? Because I need to escape this world and I need to have time to pray."
When in doubt.
Call brother.
So he invited you to come up and visit. I
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah.
And what was your first experience stepping into a seminary of religious priest in Cheshire, Connecticut?
I was scared. Because
First impression. Scary.
it was very quiet and dark. Like it was snowing. It's a snowy December afternoon, and I was just there. I didn't know anybody, and I just knew him. I knew a couple of priests, but I was just there to see what God had in store.
So at this moment, you could say it was pre-conversion,
Pre-conversion.
but God was sowing seeds.
Yep.
And your brother was instrumental in that invitation,
Yes.
the sower. What kind of ground was it? Probably rocky ground.
Thorny.
Woo!
Thorny.
Best kind. That's actually
The worldly anxiety.
at least thorns grow.
Yeah.
Okay, so
But
did anything special happen in that visit, or was it later when you went back?
Well, I joined the movement in that visit. I had a pre-conversion conversion.
Okay.
Right.
First step. Get your life in order.
Because it happened to be that when I went, there was a retreat for young men from the Regnum Christi section in DC, from DC. Right. So there were 5 guys, not the hamburger,
Not the hamburger. So
But
what do you
there were 5
suggest?
guys who were there, and I said, these are a great group of friends. Like I want to be with them. I want to grow in my faith and have fun with them.
Were you inspired by their example?
Not really, but I was
But you
inspired by
knew-
their faith.
You knew
There's a
you,
difference.
you couldn't be the same. Going
Yeah, I needed that group of guys who were goofy, who were fun,
normal.
but they lived their faith and they loved Jesus Christ and wanted to do something for him. So I said, all right, let's go. Let's try that. Maybe my life will turn around. So I go
Is that
back.
memorable?
I go back to DC, living now as a Regnum Christi member. So I started to, sacraments, better lived sacraments. I had my spiritual directions. we had our
You had spiritual direction in college?
in college. Can you imagine that? Yeah.
So what do you suggest for a college student who feels that they don't know what they're supposed to be doing right now? Obviously, they're in first, maybe starting up college, and they don't feel their spiritual life or their life in general is in the place where it's supposed to be. Not to detract from your story, but
Yeah.
we'll pause.
The at least for me, like the biggest help was to know that it does not hurt to talk to somebody about deep stuff.
Scary, yes.
Yeah,
But
but totally.
the devil
worth
wants
it.
us to be on our own.
Yeah,
And that's isolation is his key chess piece, right? When he
Yeah.
gets us on our own, that's when he's able to play with us.
Yeah.
Like a fox eating a mouse, which we just saw recently.
Yes.
So you needed direction. You needed somebody to carry you, somebody to be a guide in your openness and your challenges.
Yeah. Totally. And it just helped to like let go of certain loads, and
They're heavy.
and have someone like carry it with you and help you find a better direction. So that all happened
Conversion, St. Augustine. Good.
slightly because
Conversion.
4 months later, this is Easter time, I go back to my brother for a retreat. Our group, our Reagan Christie Young Men group, said, "Hey, let's spend Holy Week in Cheshire
That's generous.
together." So we're like, "Yes, let's all go." And we go up there, and it first hit me. I could be doing something better with my life.
Can you do something better with your life? Okay.
Yeah, it was scary.
And that was on a retreat. A silent retreat.
Mhm.
All the liturgy of Holy Week, all the reverence and it's
Everything.
pretty intense, right?
Yeah, but then they made you think. They made you think. Obviously, part of the retreat was since you're in a seminary, there is a vocational tinge to it. But they made us ask this question: what am I willing to do for Christ? That's it. They didn't say join the legionaries or become a priest. It's like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do to be Christ's apostle today? Right?
That's a good question.
And just Holy Thursday night, when they asked me that question came, and I was like, I don't know.
Obviously.
My dream was to be a doctor. My dream was to be a chef. And my dream was to be a musician. All of those three in one. Right? Three in one. But they didn't really fulfill me completely. It's like, there's something more. And I don't know. And then I realized there's like this hole in my heart that wasn't being filled by anything else. So I go to a spiritual director around that time, and he says, "Why don't you go to Christ tonight in the vigil? Right? Holy Thursday, usually you have the altar of repose, where the Eucharist is there, which is not in the church, it's on the other side, where people will pray and they spend vigil. They do a vigil of prayer. So
Were you at peace at this time, or is it kind of anxiety?
no, it was very peaceful. It was like a slight knocking on my heart, but I was like. So he goes, "Why don't you go there to Christ and tell him, Lord, lead me to where you want me to go, even if I don't know it yet." Just that. And I was like, "Oh, that's easy." Little did I know,
Dun dun dun.
God took that seriously. Because I go in front of Christ and I go, "Lord," I kneel down, and I close my eyes and I say, "Lord, lead me where you want me to go, even if I do not know it yet. And it doesn't matter if I know it now, as long as you're leading." Right?
Pause. Key. When we're in doubt where we're supposed to go in life, Christ knows the answer. Okay, go.
Yes, exactly. But when I open my eyes, this is side note. I don't open my eyes, and guess who's in front of me kneeling?
Your brother.
Nope.
Oh. yeah.
Father Alvaro Corcuera. Father Jeremy's friend.
All of our friends. But
Don't cry, Father.
so
No, he kind of like he stands up and he puts his hand on my shoulder and he says, "I'm praying for you." That's it, right? Anyway, from then on,
so keep people on the path.
keep people on the path. A lot of people praying. So I'm gonna stop there, right? Because from then on, this is whole roller coaster of like internal, should I not, should I not? But then I realized, why not give God a first shot right? So I found myself going to the candidacy in June, and
So a
Found
year
love.
after,
no, 3 months after.
well, a year after first going to
Yeah.
visit your brother,
Mhm.
God was working on you, and Holy Week, visiting the seminary for that intense time of liturgy, of prayer, of exposure.
Yeah.
You had time and the direction to say, hey, go in front of Christ. And a key person was there to say, I'm just praying for you. Somebody, man of God, let's say.
Yeah.
And that was kind of what set in motion your decision to give God the chance of calling you
Yeah.
by going to the candidacy. Just a summer, so candidacy was just a summertime.
It was a summertime, just a 3 month thing. No, 2 months. Only 2 months.
2 months.
And I kept asking my spiritual director during that time.
Was it a lot of commitment to go, or is it just what was the?
It was okay. I didn't know what I was gonna expect. I was already, since I made that prayer, from then even up to now, my whole life is, Lord, lead me where you want me to go. So it's just like, all right, Lord, surprise me.
That took a lot of
Right?
generosity, and
And
it's scary because that's letting
But-
go of control and saying, "You lead me, and I'll follow you."
but what's really funny is that he actually gives you great surprises, and he outdoes himself. I told the friend the other day, God never knows when to say when.
Okay.
Do you know that?
I
Like it's
didn't.
like you pour some person a drink. It's like, say when.
Oh,
You have to keep pouring, keep giving it as much as you let him.
him
Right.
giving to you, or you giving to him?
giving to you.
Him giving to you.
He will always, like, in
He's
abundance. He's
over-
never gonna say no
Over generous.
in his love. Obviously, his manifestations of love is still, it's different. It's maybe there aren't what we expect them to be.
True.
But yeah, it's been 14 years. I mean, Father Jeremy's a little older, but it's been 14 years. And looking back, I mean, those are the first 5 months of this call, but
Does it seem like 14 years?
it does actually. so big. so
Cut that. Wasn't
Some
what I was
people-
looking for.
Some people,
But
are
in
really
the sense of,
I mean, it goes by very quickly.
it does. But
And-
would you say that you feel like you've missed out on anything?
No. Maybe the first 5 years, you're always like, my friends are back home, and I miss, my dog and whatever.
There's a
But then-
detachment, right?
Yeah, but then the world keeps spinning, and people grow up as you grew up, and
As the world turns.
as the world.
So that's
turns.
how you took the step to follow God
Yeah.
in a vocation of religious life. And really from not even thinking about it, you could say,
Yeah.
to a conversion moment, to God inviting you in front of the Eucharist with another instrument,
Mhm.
and then you discovering Him saying, were there confirmations on the way to saying, like, this is where you're supposed to be?
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. I mean, there's always the struggle of like, is this really it, and whatever. And one big thing I realized, this might help some people. I don't know a lot, but is when my first thinking moment of Christ telling me, you know what, you have two options. Become a priest or get married. I'm gonna bless you either way. And I'm like, wait a minute. And this is in prayer one day. I was like, what do you want me to do? And he goes, you know what you want. You know what I would prefer. But either way, I will bless you. And that's when I took up the courage and I said, yes. This is right before my perpetual profession. This is when I realized God has loved me so much. Now He's asking me to say, how much do I love Him? Right? So,
I think it's important, that last point, even though it sounds like a closing remark.
see, He's a blessing with the sun right
Look at
now.
that. God shining. Let your face shine upon us.
Shine, Jesus, shine.
It's an important point because that's where it's an initiative of God. You feel God saying in a confirmation, I want you and I call you. And I think that's the most important. When people talk about, I don't know, should I not? I was like, what does God want? What is He saying to you? Is it His initiative? Or are you feeling pressured by
Whoever.
family? You thinking that this certain path of life is the most virtuous?
Mm-hmm.
But in all situations, I think the important thing is, do you feel as a call from God that's indistinguishably His.
Yes.
So
So I'm going to ask you a question. It's your turn, Father Jeremy.
I thought this was about you.
How do you know God calls you? Because you're like, all right, follow what God wants. But you're like, what? He's going to give me a text message? Send me a text message?
Okay.
An email?
I got where you're going.
Or is it going to like, is it going to be like in my heart, like, go here, go?
So there's a very huge tool in the toolbox of the Catholic Church called discernment. And that's sounds like a mystical, it's kind of a catchphrase now. Everybody's like all about it, but it's very easy. First of all, you never do it by yourself, but you always have, like you had, a spiritual director. But it's also something that it's understanding how God talks to you and what are those motions like in your soul.
Yep.
So you could have a lot of voices in your head, but it's cutting through all those voices and sitting down and saying, okay, where is this coming from? Okay, and what is it telling me? Gotcha. Where is this coming from? What is it telling me? Gotcha. So it's like sorting through the array of thoughts, of experiences, of feelings and desires, and putting a label on them with the help of a spiritual guide that challenges you to be objective. You could be very subjective. And I think that's whatever. It's a very small explanation of what discernment of spirits are, but that's where we look at God's call and saying, okay, is it something that repeats itself over a period of time? Is it something that brings me to a greater degree of holiness, which is paired with the cross? Is it something that I, deep down, even though it's hard, I know that I can feel that this is me. Like I can identify with that. There's other elements, but I think that for as far as what your experience works,
Can you apply that to your story?
I don't know.
I don't know. Like,
okay,
but like concrete elements, like
so
that's what happened. This what happened.
you joined in college.
I joined college.
I joined a little earlier. That's what God wanted of me. So I joined in high school. Well, I had the experience of a high school seminary, which was kind of like a high school boarding school for young men that are feeling that tug on their heart towards the priesthood.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a seminary itself, let's say. It's just an opportunity to live among other young men and kind of hear that call and discern. Whereas if you were at home, those individuals, if they were in their home circumstance, it might not be heard as well, or the environment there is not doesn't lend itself to a growth in holiness. Not to say that the family is not going to help or that your schooling or friends aren't good, but for me in particular, that was where I was called to that school, and I visited. It was kind of out of the blue. First of all, my parents didn't know this order or Reagan Christie too well. They Catholic background. By the time I was 13, we were living Catholic faith, but it wasn't. It was more kind of on our own because we didn't have those institutions or anything around us. We were in the Bible Belt of Georgia, so we had
Georgia boy.
So we had.
How come you don't have a southern accent? Sorry for that interruption.
I turn it on when I need to.
Oh,
It's dangerous, like a loaded weapon. You don't want to point it at everybody.
I can turn it on when I need to.
So my area, there's Bible Belt, so there are a lot of Protestants, which I have awesome Protestant friends. But in our high school, for example, middle school and high school, there are about 400, 500 students, and only, or even more, but there are only 3 Catholics.
Wow.
So probably not what you experienced. But for me and my older brothers, so we're 6 kids on number 5, I wasn't probably going to be on the best track for my soul. Just knowing that. So this was, my parents went on a retreat independently of, that's what they just wanted to do. Kind of rare. I don't know why they wanted to, but the only one available was led by legionaries. And they fell in love with this priest who was preaching, just like, wow, this is something. We felt nourished. God was just attracting them to him. So they invited him down to dinner, which we had our parish priest over a lot. And when he came down, he kind of had a friendship with the family and then started inviting my brother and I, the one just above me, to some retreats. So we went skiing which for a Georgia boy, we'd never seen snow before. It's pretty cool.
I don't see snow.
There's some back there. So we went skiing, and that was among other ECYD members of Atlanta.
Members? What are ECYD members?
So you talked about Reagan Christi, which is the lay branch connected to the Legionaries. We're part of that umbrella of Reagan Christi. But Reagan Christi, which is a spirituality and charism for adults, community, mission, spirituality. ECYD is for the youth. So you have to be 16 or 17 to be able to canonically incorporate into Reagan Christi. So youth are younger than that.
So they get the ECYD package. I
Package.
was gonna say life, but
So
yes.
I was never part of ECYD, but I experienced a little bit of it and fell in love with, just everything that I experienced. My first experience was going up to Cheshire on a ski retreat. And there it was adoration. It was rosary. It was positive peer pressure.
Mm-hmm.
It was the sacraments, just alive and attractive. And wow. And I never experienced that before. So my soul was thriving.
So you could say like that's where kind of God was telling you,
I never thought about the priesthood.
or like God was saying, "I'm here." Right? You
God-
felt God's presence.
God let my soul breathe
Exactly.
for the first time. in
Here's
long
a
time.
question to everybody who's listening. Like, when? Just think of it now. Like, when was the last time you let your soul breathe, or you've let God let your soul breathe, or you've
And-
just
And peace.
in peace?
I think that's the air of our soul. When everything's in order with God, that friendship, and there's no obstacle between Him and I,
Yeah.
and there's transparency, compatibility, total respect. That's where
See, every time you say good thing, like the sun comes out.
there's like
And it's a sensation that's better than any
it's a foretaste of heaven. I
anything.
think.
Yeah.
That's
And
what we're
you
made
know,
for.
if you say like, so how do I know? You'll know.
You'll know. It's
You'll
experiential.
know.
So that was kind of my first experience. But to answer your question, the first time I heard the call was that was in December '97. Getting old, but back in I was back to the seminary to visit for a summer camp. That's what I thought it was, and my parents did too. But it was. So it's kind of end of a busy summer, and this was a camp. I was like, all right, before school starts, we'll do another one. It was a month long, and it was really, like I said before, another experience of the sacraments, of awesome young men that I could say called me higher and
Oh yeah.
provoked in me more virtue than I was used to living. Active. I mean, we were having sports, fun, great conversation time, the Eucharist, the sacraments, rosary, spiritual direction. But it was a moment when one of them, during a downtime, he said, "Hey, you want to come to the chapel with me?" And I was like, "All right, let's go to the chapel, whatever." So he went. It was probably the third weekend, and we both walked into the little tiny chapel there. They had the Eucharist, and he walked out. Like, he did the genuflection. He stayed for 10 seconds, then walked out. And I was like, "Okay, I guess I'll just stay here," And I sat there for a minute. I don't know if I just started thinking about the day or my experience there, but it was the first time I was still and quiet and not busy, not distracted. And I kind of opened up my desires, what I was thinking about. And that's for the first time I was looking at the Eucharist and I heard God in a thought. It wasn't anything supernatural, like mystical, let's say. It was a thought. It said, "Jeremy, how do you like it here?" So it gave me some time to think about everything. And I was like, "Ooh, I love it here." And then it was another thought that came into mind. It was like, "Well, Jeremy, do you want to be a priest and go on a mission you'll never regret?" And I was like, "Where'd that come from?"
There's actually the priest like right below him. Like,
No, but it was so weird because it wasn't for me. I'd never thought of it before, but it was so concrete and
that's awesome.
real. And that was where I first thought for sure. I was like, "Well, let me think about that." I was like, "Yeah, I think I would." And that was it. It wasn't anything. It says a 13-year-old would,
Yeah.
but there I talked to a priest about that experience again and seeking advice.
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, why don't you give it a year? Give it a try. It's not nothing committal." And that's when I started getting my life in order a little bit, seeking virtue, getting on track, but then also discovering every day these little affirmations or confirmations of God saying, in my heart, my desire is like, this is where you belong. This is your family. This is this mission I identified with. And I was excited about, the prospect of saving souls, and it matured with time. That's when I was in high school. But as it goes along, it's different, and you respond to those little lights and inspirations with generosity, but also with that discernment and guidance. Is this what I'm made for?
Yeah, I mean, it's something when you spoke about the whole maturing process. I think what we just shared it's just like the tip of the iceberg. Like, and I'm sure your experience is also mine. The beginning is you let go, you let God take care, and you're like following Him. You're like, yes, I'm doing the sacraments. I'm going to be a priest. I'm going to give it all. And those little surprises He gives you. For me, one of the biggest ones that made me one of those big confirmations was when I was able to put a face and a name to the word soul. Because you always hear like, right, let's save souls and let's help people go get closer to Christ. But who are these people, right? And then you realize, wait a minute, I'm on a mission which I'll never regret, and this is the mission of reaching out to people that you can lead to Him, that they can share in your path, whether they're fellow legionary priests or other priests or religious, men, women, children, and you just realize, I am being an instrument of Christ's love for them. And when that happens, you're like, I don't need to do anything else. Like, there's nothing more beautiful than this. Right?
So, what was your most embarrassing moment as a legionary in your whole seminary life?
To be talked about in the next episode!
On the spot.
Oh, really? Now?
Yeah, let's go. Let's hear it.
Most embarrassing. You must already have one.
You deflected. Okay, I'll go first.
You go first. Let me think about it. I didn't. This was not part.
So my most embarrassing was, I was like first or second year in the seminary, and we had family day. So it was big profession, stay at seminary. We had a tent, whole bunch of tables, families coming to have breakfast, and everybody was sitting at tables with their families, etc. So I sat with a family that I kind of knew. My parents knew more, and it was another seminarian and his aunt. So his aunt was, they dressed up for Sunday Mass, so very, elegantly dressed and prim and proper, and kind of like, I didn't feel comfortable around them, right? To say it short. And I was like a good seminarian, going to go pick up all the. I was like a good seminarian. I was going to go pick up all the plates. So I went to go pick up all the plates. And we had cereal that day, so I picked up the plates, and there's a bowl with milk, and I had I was going to get all the plates together, show them how well. And as I was behind this aunt of this brother, I was picking up all the plates, and my bowl of milk just spilled all down her back.
What? Oh my gosh.
And I felt so bad, and she just froze. She didn't take it well. She just got up and flustered and ran away. Yeah. So I was like, oh dang, I messed up there.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, that was pretty embarrassing.
Was that also a confirmation that God wanted you there in the seminary?
Let me discern that. I haven't discerned that.
Nice story. So, thank you very much for listening.
You're escaping. All right, that'll be a
okay, I want.
Okay, go ahead.
Really quick. So, I sing, right? I do music. And about 4 years into seminary, this is 10 years ago, usually for the Easter Vigil, they ask you, you have to sing the Psalms. You have 7 readings in the Easter Vigil with Psalms afterwards. And we sing them in the seminary. But there's no organ accompaniment. The organ comes after all those readings. It's all a cappella.
Yeah.
Right? So they go to me and say, hey, can you do the first one? And I was like,
how many seminarians there? How many people?
There was about
church?
80 people. So not too many, but all eyes are on you, right?
Your first time.
My first time doing it a cappella. So I was like, all right, give me the psalm. Let me practice that. And I see the sheet music. So we changed this because the battery died in the other camera.
That's your second embarrassing thing. Okay.
So
Acapella.
Acapella. And I see the sheet music, and I'm like, I don't know this melody. And I find out that
You didn't practice?
I had to practice it, but I found out
Nervousness.
that one of the priests in our community had just composed it, so I had to learn it. So I was not used to it anyway. I was like, whatever, let's practice it, and I practiced it. So mass comes, and I get up there, and I sing the weirdest melody of a psalm. That
Very spontaneous
Yeah.
and
the
Inspired.
half of the brothers seminary